Good morning, this is Jim Webb. Thanks for stopping by to view this video. Today, we're going to talk about the customer first culture, that it requires change, and this is part 3 of our 4-part series. In this part 3 of our 4-part series to customer first culture requires change, we're going to talk about expertise. Let me tell you, just to kind of catch you up here very briefly, customer first is something that a lot of businesses will commonly say, oh yes, we've got that, we have a customer first culture in our business. But it's very uncommon, if you actually dig deep, to find a business that really has a customer first culture. That culture means that it involves everything. Everything in that business is customer first. And what we've determined is the change that needs to be made is from the tactics and techniques of the past to empathy and expertise today and in the future. Part 2 covered empathy, and today in this short video, in part 3, we'll cover expertise. Customers have access to lots of information, and I think that makes being an expert harder to achieve, but it also is the number one way that you will gain credibility with your customer today, especially the millennial generation and those coming after. They want to know that you know what you're talking about. So the very first thing, number one, as we look at expertise, the very first area to focus on to gain expertise is to have a thorough understanding of your industry. What does your industry provide to the marketplace? What are they looking to you for? What is their problem that they feel you have a solution to? What are the industry issues from the past? What are the good things in the future? And what sets you apart? That's very important. And this is an industry specific. Number 2 is to be a student. And I add lifelong student of your industry, of your product, your service, and your market. When I first got into business, the thing that I determined was most important to me was that I learned and that I continued to learn as long as that I was in business, because I realized how important that was in building trust with my client. I started out very young dealing with older people, and I realized that their credibility, I could be nice and sweet, but when it came down to the fact of building credibility and rapport to do business with me, they had to know that I knew what I was doing. I became a student. And today it's harder because you have to seek it. You have to get out and seek that information. You can't wait till somebody pours it into you. Like they used to say when we were in school, drill a hole in your head and pour it in. They're not going to do that. You got to dig in. You can't wait. You have to be a self-learner. You have to go out and require yourself to learn. Block it out on your calendar. Do whatever that it takes to make sure that it's a disciplined, consistent effort to learn. Number 3, in becoming an expert is the ability to communicate your expertise to the market, to your clientele, in an easily understood way. If you become an expert, but yet you can't communicate that information, to the clientele, then what good is that expertise? You will not build any credibility or rapport because they won't understand. You'll be talking over their head maybe. An example of this is I've had colleagues in the past that were very good at research. They were very good at the statistics and the analytics and being able to drill down and establish strategies and processes. But if you put them in front of a customer to explain that, forget it. They couldn't do that. That was not a skill that they had. So how do you communicate? How do you develop that skill? Well, it's with practice. And the way that you practice is you don't practice on your customer, you practice with your colleagues. I would encourage those of you that have a boss, a manager, a leader that has done what you are wanting to do or are striving to do, I encourage you to practice with them. And leave the door wide open for critique. Let them come to you and say, that isn't going to work. They're not going to understand that. You have to be open to criticism. Because the only way that you're going to learn to communicate is to communicate the message, your expertise in a way that can be understood, is for somebody to say, you need to change that. If you wait until you talk to a customer and then after you've talked to several, you realize they can't understand me, what has happened? Well, you've missed several opportunities for a customer. So communicate, the skill of communication. And number 4 is research. To be an expert, to achieve expertise in this information-rich world, and to remain an expert, you must constantly research. And this is a little bit different than being a student. It can be a lot like it, but this means that you're not just reading a book, but you're out there constantly researching what your marketplace can see. What's new? What's changing? What information are your clients able to see that's true and false, so that you have a eyes wide open approach when you deal with them. Not that you bring up false information, but that if someone says something false to you, you can say, I think I know where you got that from. I saw that, and here's what after I looked at it, what I did and the conclusion I came to. If you don't do that, what you're basically doing is from the hip saying, I don't think that's true. But why do you not think that's true? It's kind of hard to explain, but if you've researched it and you've been out there, then you can address them in a very respectful and expert way. So you got to know what's out there to be seen, for your clientels to be devouring sometimes. They'll get out and just get into their research mode for a short period of time on the product you sell and get very dangerous what information they know. And one of the services that you provide is to help them make the best educated decision. Well, how can you help them make the best educated decision if you don't know all the information that they're able to see out there? So and this isn't something that you can do now and then. You have to research this consistently. Constantly be out looking. Be aware. What industry are you in? Look at everything related to that. You can set up things in Google that you can get alerted every time that that word is mentioned on the internet. You can set up a Twitter list, a Twitter feed that just tells you when people comment on a certain word. There's a lot of things you can do in our world today to help you to look at that. There's a tool called Feedly. Feedly is able to take, you can go and take certain publications and take specific articles that are written on specific subjects and have them come into your feed. Feedly is that service. So there's a lot of things out there, but here is the key. Today, you got to be an expert. Not only do you need to be empathetic and be able to walk in their shoes and understand how they feel, but you've got to be an expert. And how do being an expert takes effort. So understanding, being a student, learning the communication skill to communicate your expertise, and research to stay on top of all the information to remain an expert are the keys to this. Again, thank you for watching. If you're on our YouTube channel, please subscribe. We're doing a lot of content, and if you subscribe and hit that bell, it will notify you when we have something new out there. Like and comment if you're seeing this on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter. Like and comment on this so that people will see that and share it out. You may have a business person that would like this kind of perspective on what they can do going forward. We're making it very simple. It's not rocket science. Today, doing business is not rocket science. It's just different, and it requires a change. Again, thanks for stopping by. All the best to you today. Expect to win.